Hello friends in the world. My name is Janine Wiggins and this is my YouTube channel. I'm an artist, a teacher, and an amateur writer, and I'm also a survivor of domestic violence and domestic homicide. And I'm here to tell you my personal story, my life story. Been told more than once that I should write a book about my life, and at this point in my life I have arthritis and I have to pick and choose the creative projects that I do with my hands. So this seems like a better way for me to get my story out that's be less painful for me, at least physically. Telling the story is hard, and so bear with me because I do use notes. They help me to remember what all happened. I have PTSD, and when you have PTSD, it affects your memory a lot. And I have no sense of smell, and smell is tied to memory, so it's hard for me to find and pull out all these memories, not only because some of them are painful, but just because my memory is not great. But I'm doing the best I can, and the main intention after telling my story is also to show people how I've been able to cope and survive trauma and heal in many ways. It's a continuous journey, but that is the journey I'm on, and if I can help others on their healing journey, that would make me very, very happy. So here we go with part 3 of my family story. This is my early childhood memories. So to get to where I was, okay. I was born in, I believe, St. Vincent's Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida in 1967 on a Saturday morning in mid-April. As an infant, I was very accident prone, actually probably my whole life. And I know I fell off a couple of chairs as a baby and maybe broke my nose when I was a toddler, which makes sense. I can remember once when I was on a neighbor's porch, I don't know if I was 5 or 6, a cast iron bell fell on my head. That would maybe explain a few things. I don't know. But I've just generally been very accident prone from the very earliest days of my existence here on this planet in this lifetime. So, let's see. Even as a small child, my family moved around a lot, and we jokingly called ourselves gypsies, but really it was no joke. The first place that we lived when I was a baby was a place called, I believe it was Colonial Apartments in Arlington in Jacksonville. And I think we lived there for about a year. And then we moved to Empire Point, which was a, upscale, gated community. And we lived in the fore part of the neighborhood. It was a large neighborhood. We lived close to the entrance where the gate was into the neighborhood. Between the ages of, say, 1 and 3 or 4, I lived there. My mom would rent ponies for our birthdays. I went to a Montessori school. I used to get a lot of gold stars as a child for drawing in the lines and for, for artistic things. Very young. And I remember enjoying our backyard and having a tricolor pink shag carpet in our bedroom. It was the 70s that was in. But I also remember, even as a small child in preschool, I was always alone. The kids didn't want to hang out with me. I guess I was just always a little weird and different. I had my little invisible friends. Those would have been the Aristocats. Those were my invisible friends as a baby. And Empire Point was pretty much a good time in life. I remember cutting my sister's hair and my hair when I was about 4, And my mom was having a little dinner party and walked in to show off my work, and she was flabbergasted, as you can imagine. Took several years at the salon to grow that out. I still cut my hair to this day. And we took swimming classes and things like that. We were members of the Ponte Vedra Country Club, so we spent a lot of time at the beach there, and my dad loved to golf, so he spent a lot of time on the golf course. It's also where you do business dealings. He had a trailer park and a motel, and I believe he had a convenience store. So that's how he made his money at that time. He did tell me that he had dealings with the mob. I don't know what exactly. Maybe a lot of businessmen had dealings with the mob back then. And we would rent a beach house every summer. So as a really small child, I remember spending the early morning watching the sun come up, and making sand castles and catching fiddler crabs and putting them in my moat on the beach. And one time when I was around 2 years old, I almost drowned in a wave. I got caught up in a wave. But I always loved the water. It didn't matter. So from Empire Point, we moved to Bay Meadows. And we moved from an apartment to a townhouse to a condominium, all in probably the span of just 2 years. I kept moving up and up. I guess my parents were trying to continue to move up very quickly on the social ladder. And when we lived at the condominium, that's when I got my first bicycle. We had a retention pond close to where we lived. We lived next to the golf course when we lived in the condominium. And the man-made pond had, I believe it had an alligator in it, but it definitely had moccasins, because we were over there trying to collect little frogs one day, and I remember this black snake came out of the water right after us, and we ran really fast. And then I found out later they're aggressive and they will chase you. So that was pretty scary. Welcome to Florida. So that was a few years of my life, and I was at that point starting grade school. I started at a Christian private academy. I was 5 because I tested high on the exams. So I got passed into grade school at 5. They wouldn't do that today. And it's an advantage and a disadvantage, because intellectually, physiologically, you're not at the same level as your peers. And then there's always this kind of jealousy that I had to deal with in school. First grade, I got paddled one time for having a dress too short in front of the whole class. At 5 years old, I was not in control of my clothing, but my mom put me in this little short dress with ruffle panties under it, and in that Christian school it was just way too short. So I was publicly humiliated, and yeah, they can't do that anymore, fortunately. After that, we moved to a different Christian school, the Chappelle School, and there we had small classes, and I had the same peers for 7 years. In the next video, I'll tell you more about my days at Chappelle School, and then about our move back to Empire Point when we lived on the river instead of at the main gate. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless you, and may you have a beautiful day and a beautiful rest of your life. Much love.